Hello there, and welcome back to Super Simple Game Dev Tutorials for busy people. In today's video, we will set up our working environment. We will go through Unity's installation, create our project, talk about all of the windows in Unity's UI, and start learning some lingo, like GameObject, scene, and component. The first thing that you'll want to do is go to unity.com and download the game engine. You will have to create an account, and I suggest selecting Unity Personal License. With this license, you can use all of the functionalities of Unity up until you start earning $100,000 per year. When installing, we're going to have to select a version. If you're creating a game that you intend to publish, I suggest using one of the versions with LTS sign. It stands for long-term support. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'll be using the beta version of Unity 6. Unity 6 comes out later this year and has new features and performance enhancements that will make game dev even easier. When your installation is done, let's create a new project. Click on Project and select New Project here in the top right corner. Select your editor's version and 3D built-in render pipeline. Give your project a name, Master Walk, and the location where you want to save it, and click Create Project. Unity takes a little bit of time to load, but when it's completed, you should see the UI that looks like this. I know there's quite a lot of things going on here, windows, lists, buttons, but don't worry, we're going to go through every one of them using functional examples. Let's start with editing the layout a bit. Down here, we have a project view. This is where all of the elements from our projects are listed. I like to have this in my left corner, so let's move it there. I also like to have it in one column view instead of two, so click these three dots in the top right corner and select one column layout. This down here is a console view. This is where all of our debug, warning, and error messages are displayed. We ever only really need this in the context of a scene, so let's nest it underneath. This looks good for now. So when we're happy with the changes to our layout, we can save it. Click on this button in the top right corner that says Default, choose Select Layout, and give it a name, GameDev.1. Now, back here in the project window, you can see that we have a folder named Scenes. A project can have multiple scenes. You can consider them as different levels of your game, or how I like to use it, different screens. One screen for main menu, character creation, save and load, another screen for actual game, and maybe another one called Sandbox for testing. Let's click on the scene that we have here, the sample scene. This will load all of the game object from the scene into these two windows. Hierarchy window has all of the game objects in a list, and you can see their visual representation in the scene view. Now, you heard me use the word game objects a few times. This is a fundamental concept in Unity. Game objects are all the elements that you can see in your scene, be it camera, light, characters, environment. They act like containers for components, which implement the real functionality. Let me explain this on an example. You can see that here in the scene, we already have game objects, camera, and light. Let's add another one. Right-click on the hierarchy window, click 3D Object, and select Sphere. Name this sphere Ball. When you click on your new game object, on the right side you can see the inspector window. This window lists all of the components and properties of this game object. You don't need to learn all of these properties from the top of your head, we can just learn them as we go. This is a component called transform. It represents the position of the game object in your scene. You can move this object around by changing these values, or you can move them by dragging it in the scene view. This is what I was talking about earlier on. The components are what holds the real functionality of a game object. Changing these values affects the scene, and in the end what we see in the game view. Let's position the ball in the center of our scene by clicking 3 dots in the top right corner and clicking Reset. Notice that all the position has moved to 0, 0, 0 coordinates. I would like to do a little recap at this point. Notice how our windows and objects are cascading. We have a project window that holds everything in our project, hierarchy and scene that holds everything in our scene, inspector that holds everything on a selected game object. Last but not the least, the game view. This is our final product, the actual game view rendered by the cameras in the scene. This is what we see when we click play. The output of the cameras can also be seen in the scene view by clicking this button. Depending on your preferences, you can have it here, or you can extract the game view next to the scene view. For the purposes of this tutorial, we are just going to leave it here, nested by the scene. Now, we've covered all of the windows in Unity, and I think we reached the natural stopping point for this video. We covered the installation, created our project, went through all of the windows in Unity's UI, and learned some lingo, like what is a game object, what is a scene, and what is a component. In the next video, I will show you how to set up the AI that's going to help us code, and we'll start with some actual programming. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe and comment, and I'll do my best to respond and help with any programming questions you have. Till next week, thank you for watching, and keep going!